Well, we're making a veal rib rack roast today, and this is an 8-bone rack which I bought, but let's get started with the seasonings first. We're going to need salt, pepper, butter, garlic, some dry powdered mustard, onion powder, and garlic powder. Now I've softened the butter in the microwave and added some water to the powdered mustard. Now in addition, we're also going to use rosemary, which I've plucked from my garden, and we're going to use a fair bit of rosemary in this particular case. After stripping them, I roughly chop the rosemary before adding that to a mortar and pestle, in which I've already put in some roughly chopped garlic, which you saw earlier, and what I'm going to do is add this to there and sort of crush it in the mortar and pestle. By doing so, you actually release more flavor from the seasoning. And also to that, we're going to add the butter and the mustard. Now we also add the garlic and onion powder and make sure that they are all well incorporated by giving them a good mix. Again, the objective is to crush the garlic and bruise the rosemary leaves and make sure that everything is well incorporated. At this stage, you may also add a little bit of cooking oil. Now, don't use olive oil because you're going to be getting a lot of smoke as a result. Use a vegetable oil like canola or sunflower or even peanut if you like it. And give it a good mix to make sure that it's all incorporated and you are able to form a little paste. Now, setting the seasoning to sit for a little while, let's turn our attention to the rack itself. This is an 8-bone rack, as I mentioned earlier, and it should be enough to serve 8 adults with sides. So while the seasoning is hanging out and developing flavors, remove the rack from the packaging and dab it dry. You don't have to wash it, but you do have to dab it dry because that makes it easier to handle for the next stage, which is trimming and dressing. Now I bought this slab from Costco rather than a butcher's, and they don't dress it for you. They don't remove the silver skin, etc. But it does make it cheaper. So I tend to do that, and as a result, I have to do a lot of the trimming myself. Obviously, this is extra work, but it is worth it in the end because rather than the trimmings being left for somebody else to use and resell as stir fry, you can use it for yourself. And you'll see that in a second as I take this particular muscle off the back of the rack, and I'll use that in a stir fry a little bit later on. Right, so this is a bonus. What about the trimmings, you might ask? And I say that's a really good question. Growing up hard scrabble as I did, we never wasted protein and made use of whatever we had. And that philosophy of waste not, want not has bled over into my adult life. And here what I'm doing is trimming all the silver skin off, and then I'm going to slice this piece of meat, this flap I've cut off the rack, across the grain and on a bias. This increases the surface area for velveting. Now, velveting is a Chinese restaurant process where you add flour, corn flour, salt, pepper, and some Chinese wine or white wine, and you can then add vegetables to this for a stir fry. Now, this trimming will actually feed 3 to 4 people quite easily because if you weigh up all the meat, that's probably 300 to 350 grams of protein right there. There you go. Now, coming back to the rack itself, we've got our seasoning paste, and we're going to start by slavering a fair bit on the top of the roast. Now this is the front of the roast that is presented when you take it out of the oven and when you slice it up. So this is typically the surface that I will cover with the seasoning paste first. Now once I get a satisfactory coverage on of the roast, I will then take that roast and flip it over onto my rack. Now the reason for this will become evident in a few moments. Now I'll take this roast and flip it over onto its front on top of the rack, and then with the back presented to me, I will then slather on the remaining seasoning before flipping it back over again and finishing adding the finishing touches to it, because this is going to go into the refrigerator to marinate overnight. Now, to avoid disappointment and heartache due to overdone and underdone meats, my recommendation is to acquire yourself a good leave-in meat thermometer. This will be especially useful dealing with large roasts like this, and in the next stage where you're going to preheat your oven to 110-120 degrees Celsius, and you're going to roast this until it reaches a 50 degrees internal temperature. This thermometer will tell you when to remove it and let it rest for at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes under loose foil. Then you preheat your oven to 250, and once it reaches the temperature, put it back in there and let it grill until it reaches the desired finish. Now when you remove it from the oven, it's going to be smoking hot and gloriously beautiful. Oh, look at that beauty. Oh, yeah. Super cool.